Not sure what's happening today. Just left the house like 500 meters into my run. Heart rate's already in the sky. I don't know why it's so high. It's gone up to 150. I'm running probably at 5:30 per kilometer. I'll see how it goes through the run. In today's video, I want to talk about what the Maffetone method is, or the MAF. The MAF, or MAF, stands for maximum aerobic function. So when we do the MAF, basically what we're trying to find a way to maximize our aerobic fitness. So that can be done by training at a very specific way, at a very specific level, and that's basically in a nutshell what the MAF is. Now, you can't do that just by running alone. You've got to do a couple of other things. I'm not going to go into the whole nitty gritty of what Maffetone training is or what the MAF is, because there's just tons of that out there and it's been done way better than I can ever do it. But basically, you need to try and beat a sugar addiction if you've got one. I think I do. You need to turn on fat burning. So train your body or teach your body how to burn fat as a fuel source when you're exercising, or to rely more on that oxidative type training instead of that glycolytic or anaerobic training. And then to beat chronic inflammation in your body. So when we train really hard all the time, we produce a hormone called cortisol, and cortisol is a hormone which will also promote chronic inflammation. So basically with the MAF, you're trying to get that chronic inflammation to come down by being in that oxidative training instead of that glycolytic type training. And then the last thing is just to manage stress. Now, fortunately for me, I wouldn't confess to have a huge amount of stress. I do have a lot of stress in my life, but it's good stress because I actually really enjoy what I do. I really enjoy work. I like my exercise most of the time, and family life is pretty good. So my stress, although it is pretty high, it's very manageable because a lot of the stress I have is enjoyable stuff. There are, like everybody has in life, they get periods of time where stress can kind of get out of control. And when that happens, you'll notice that your training takes a big knock on the head. It's usually times like that you start to get injured or get flare-ups of different types of pain. So that's pretty much in a nutshell for me what the MAF is. It's dropped pretty quick. Just knocked the pace off a little bit, not much, but it seems to stabilise now, which is good. I can start my run proper. What is it that drew me to MAF training will be the next question. And I said in the first video, I've been running consistently for about 20 years now. I think I did my first marathon in 2001. It was just after 9/11 happened, because I remember there was lots of Americans doing the race, and that's why I can recall the year pretty well. And since then, I think I've done about 20 marathons. And I had a period where I was doing a lot of triathlons before I had my family. And then I took a 10-year hiatus from triathlons, and I'm back competing in triathlons now, or at least I hope it will be this year. I've got two half Ironmans coming up at the end of the summer, one in September, I think, in Cork, and the other one's in Barcelona at the end of October. I'm always researching, I'm always looking for different ways that I can kind of keep myself motivated to keep on training the way I do. I suppose for the average person, you would say I probably exercise quite a lot, but in the circles that I associate myself with, my exercise would probably be about average. So Phil Maffetone describes health and fitness as going hand in hand with each other. And when he talks about doing the MAF or Maffetone type training, he emphasizes the need for having a physical, a biochemical, and a mental emotional balance between all three things in training, and striving not just for fitness, but for fitness and health. I think a lot of us who compete and do exercise just focus on fitness and trying to get fitter and faster all the time, and quite often can forget about health. And as you move into that kind of older age bracket, you can sometimes forget about the health and just focus on fitness, and you hear some tragic stories sometimes about people who run into all sorts of very different health issues. So I suppose I'm at that point in my life where I'm thinking not just about fitness now, but fitness and health and longevity in the sport. I mean, I want to keep doing this for as long as I can. So I think now for me, stumbling across the Maffetone type training at the moment has just been really good. It's something that really appeals to me at the moment. And something I'm going to stick at for a couple of months anyway. I'm definitely going to keep doing just specific MAF running up until I finish those 2 half Ironmans this summer, and I'll see how that goes. I mean, the way I see it at the moment is I don't really have a whole lot to lose, because you know, with the way the world is at the moment, those races might not go ahead. So what's the point in doing all the usual training that I used to do? And, you know, you may not yield results because, like I said in the first video, I'm finding it really difficult to keep that type of training at the moment. Specifically when I try and add in bike workouts as well. The running is just taking a hit, and it's beginning to become something that I hate. I'm just over 1.5 kilometers into my run now, and the heart rate has pretty much been stable since about that first 500 meters. Went really high, went up to 174 at one point. Had to really knock it off, but it's dropped down now to 137, which is right on the mat for me. Last question: how do you find your MAF training zone? So basically, it's very simple. All you do is take the number 180 and subtract your age. So for me, I'm 43, so I take 43 away from the 180 and I get 137. So theoretically, I should keep my heart rate between 132 and 137. So if you're 43 years of age, that's what you go for. On Phil Maffetone's website, philmaffetone.com, I'll put a link down below. You can get a free ebook, and there's a couple of different criteria you can use. So if you're not used to exercise, you can take another 5 off that. If you're coming back from injury, you can take another 5. Or if, like me, you've been exercising consistently over the last, say, he says for 2 years or more, and you've been kind of holding good volume and being able to deal with that, cope with that, with staying injury free, you can actually add 5 beats per minute to the number that you get. So theoretically, I suppose I should be 142 to 137, because I have been doing a lot of running over the last 2 years, over the last 20 years, but specifically over the last 2 years. But I just find myself to be what I would call a little bit or very run unfit at the moment. So basically what I'm doing, just to keep it simple for myself, is I'm going from 135 to 140. So the 137, which is the 180 minus my age, is right slap bang in the middle. So I'm giving myself just a couple of beats above, up to 140, and then down to 135. Theoretically, if I'm between 132 and 142, I am in the Maffetone's training zone, but I'm just going to try and keep it tight in that 135 to 140 and see how I progress from there. This is my second week of doing MAF, and my heart rate keeps spiking, keeps going up to like 150, 160, so I'm really knocking the pace down to try and keep it down low in that MAF zone. It's the first kind of frustrating run I've had. Up until now, the runs have all been pretty smooth. Some of them have been pretty tough, just keeping up the MAF. But today, I don't know, for some reason, it's my heart rate's just going up, and then I'll drop the pace off, and it steadies out, and then it goes up again. On that website, philmaffetone.com, when you read through the criteria of what you do, basically they state something that I find is quite interesting, and that's that if you don't find significant increases in your training capacity over the first month or 2 months, it basically means that you've calculated your MAF to be too high. Now, for me, although I wasn't doing Maffetone training, I've done quite a bit of training over the last couple of weeks. I've at the start of the year, I was just doing 25 kilometers a week, and then I brought it up to 40, which for me isn't a huge amount of running, but it's definitely an increase from what I had been doing. And I probably did about 6 or 7 weeks of that and had virtually no increase in physical performance. I felt just as bad on all those runs that I did at the beginning, and falling into the old adage that I was going too hard on the easy days and too easy on the hard days, and just you find yourself finding this kind of grey area, junk mile middle ground, where you just plateau and you go nowhere. And so since I had that little stop that time to talk on the camera, the heart rate has definitely settled down quite a lot. So it's been putting that video together and linking it with the run that I was doing outside, where I was talking, my heart rate kept elevating. I just realised, and I'm putting it together today. So that was on Tuesday, and the day before that was Bank Holiday Monday, and I did a 100k cycle. It was a pretty cold day. Even though I kept my heart rate pretty low, I suggest that was why my heart rate kept spiking on the run that I keep jumping to. All good. Another MAF run done.